Today, we're going to talk about the wild and honestly pretty blurry world of movie marketing. A world where the lines between who's a critic, who's a fan, and who's an advertiser are all starting to disappear.
So, here's the plan. We'll kick things off with a puzzle you've definitely seen before. Then, we'll look at how things used to work, meet the new players who are changing the game, break down their playbook, and wrap up by asking the big one. What does all this mean for us?
All right, let's dive right in. Part 1, critics versus audiences. This is where it all starts.
Okay, so you've seen this 1,000 times, right? A huge new movie drops. You look at the reviews, and the professional critics are just tearing it apart. But then you look at the audience score, and it's through the roof. People love it. One side is furious, the other is ecstatic. So what is going on here? Well, this huge gap, it's not some random accident. It's actually a symptom of a giant shift in how Hollywood sells movies to us. It really points to this new battle for influence that's happening right out in the open.
To really get a handle on what's happening today, we need to rewind the clock a little bit. We've got to look at how this game was played for decades by, let's call them the old guard.
See, for the longest time, there's been this system called access media. Basically, journalists would get invited to early screenings, get to interview the stars, but there was this sort of unspoken agreement. You throw softball questions, you don't get too tough, and in return, you keep getting invited back. So here's the thing that's really important to remember. This isn't some brand new problem. The idea that there was some golden age of totally pure, unbiased movie criticism, yeah, it's pretty much a myth. You could argue the system was kind of broken from the start. But then, the audience changed, and Hollywood realized that the old guard just wasn't cutting it anymore. They felt like they were losing their connection, and that led them to their new favorite weapon. Studios started to panic a little. They saw they were losing their grip on younger audiences. We're talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, anyone who grew up with a phone in their hand. These are people who don't read traditional film reviews. So to reach them, Hollywood had to go where they live, online. So instead of just relying on the big, established newspapers and magazines, they did something really smart. They just went around them. They went straight to social media influencers, thinking, hey, these creators feel more like a friend giving a recommendation than some stuffy critic. It feels more authentic. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How is this new system of hype actually built? Well, it turns out the playbook is surprisingly simple. The playbook they're running is, well, it's brilliant. It's all about creating this perfect little bubble of excitement. First, you figure out exactly who you want to see your movie. Then, you find the TikTokers and YouTubers they already watch and trust. After that, you give those creators an incredible, exclusive, all-expenses-paid trip they'll never forget. And then you just sit back and let them do the marketing for you, as they share their genuine excitement with millions of followers. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. It's not usually a direct payment, like a check. It's more of an understanding. You get flown out to amazing premieres, you get exclusive interviews, you get the VIP treatment. And the unspoken rule is, if you want to keep coming back, you have to be part of the hype. A negative review could mean you're suddenly not on the list for the next blockbuster. And this quote just nails the human side of it all, doesn't it? I mean, after a studio flies you out, puts you in a fancy hotel, and you get to meet and chat with the movie stars, it becomes really, really hard to turn around and be completely objective. It's just not how we're wired. So with this new system running at full steam, what does it mean for the rest of us? The people just trying to figure out if a movie is actually worth our time and money. And what we're left with is kind of a crisis of trust. Those two different paths, the old school professional critic and the new school influencer, they've basically merged into one single road. And that road leads to the same place. Studio access, which means they're all playing by the same unwritten rules. This right here is the absolute heart of the issue. The main motivation, the need to get access to do your job, whether that's writing for a newspaper or making a TikTok, has kind of forced everyone into the same corner. Any real difference that might have been there before, it's pretty much gone. And that brings us to the final and most important question. In a world where the entire system seems designed to create positive buzz, when everyone from the legacy critic to the rising influencer has a reason to be nice, where do you even go to find a truly honest opinion? That is the real challenge for all of us now.